This doesn't make any sense, and it's. Well, this is the new computer. So it might be. Okay, so you're not in mono. Oh, well, here's part of the problem.
We're back now. Okay. No, I don't think you still can hear us.
Yeah, everybody can hear you.
Oh, you can hear me?
If anybody's back in.
Oh, yeah. Hello, everybody. Come back to this.
And we'll
Is my audio coming through?
Join us on the new one. That doesn't help.
Do you get Jeremiah?
Ah,
Do you get Jeremiah, April?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep, I get him too.
That was weird.
Okay.
Yeah, it was all unchecked. I don't know why it didn't show up.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, sorry. I apologize.
It's my fault. I'm not tech savvy, so I brought my voodoo in.
Jeremiah broke everything. He broke all of the things. Can you believe that?
Just reset.
Yay.
Nothing happened. Just reset.
Yeah, nothing happened. Yes, welcome back. Hello and welcome to Power and Perspective. I am April. This is Aaron. And we reframe conversations, including those about technical difficulties, with empathy and humor. Remember that, empathy and humor. Today we're talking about aliens with Jeremiah. Welcome, Jeremiah. Thank you for joining us officially this time.
Hello.
Jeremiah is our resident alien expert. And as we do, first we're going to share our perspectives. My alien perspective. My perspective as an alien or on aliens?
Yes.
Are you an alien?
I mean, you are a terrestrial who is a little bit extra.
That is... Oh my gosh, that should be a shirt. Is that already a shirt?
No, I mean, I wouldn't know. I haven't seen it.
You should totally make a shirt like that.
Right? I'm a terrestrial that's a little bit extra. OMG. This has to happen. Okay.
Get a Teespring store going.
So, I would say my perspective on aliens is this. I teach science, as you all know, so I'm clearly an expert on all things. And there are a lot of stars out there. And if every star is a sun with the capability of possibly having an Earth, statistically, I would say, oh, look, there's a cat.
Oh, it's my kitten.
Okay, statistically, I would say that there has to be other life, right? There really has to be other life. This is the extent of my knowledge of aliens. I also think, like, conspiracy theory-wise, people can't keep secrets. So if there was actual proof, we would know it. Somebody commented on Facebook that the government has already said there is extraterrestrial life, but I must have missed that tweet. I don't know.
I think the government recently said that they acknowledge UFOs are a real phenomenon, but they're not sure exactly what it is. But they released it during the beginning of the pandemic. That
really
they kind of slid it in there with the pandemic stuff. And
they're like, we're going to give you $1,000 and also BTW, aliens are real.
Yeah, that's exactly how it happened.
Which is, it could just be a misdirect, so that we're all talking about that now instead of talking about
maybe
anything pertinent. Because I mean, just the nature of a UFO, right? It's unidentified, so it could still also be anything.
Yeah.
Yeah, true.
But they definitely said that, yes, there is something going on with UFOs. But, yeah, it was kind of like slipped in there and no one really paid it much attention.
Wow, I clearly didn't. I was busy collecting my checks.
Jeez.
I'm straight up ghetto with my giant nondescript
I pray you
gear
pay taxes. That's all I'm saying.
And collecting my checks. I'm a teacher. You think I don't pay taxes? Come on. Like y'all get half my paycheck.
Well, and I mean, it's a whole other thing, right? When we're talking about extraterrestrial life being a statistical inevitability, like on a fundamental level, right? That there's nothing special about Earth, fundamentally speaking.
Not nothing special, just that there's so many stars that like statistically, there would, I would imagine, have to be something.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah,
right?
there's nothing special about Earth. Yeah, that's what I mean. It's.
But I say by saying that those
There's
weren't
nothing
her,
about.
though. Those are her. I'm offended. I'm offended as a terrestrial
that's
being.
sort of the religious argument against it, right?
That
Geocentrism
that
and heliocentrism.
gotcha.
The debate there, and
Yeah.
that Earth is special, and we have.
So what do you think, Aaron? Are there aliens?
Well, I mean, the only thing I've got is I read a lot of sci-fi, and I spend a lot of time thinking about things like the Fermi Paradox, which is the paradox between the inevitability of extraterrestrial life and the fact that we've had no interactions with them.
Well, we don't know if we've had interactions.
Well, yeah, us as a society, we don't know. Like as
because we could be so young.
As humans don't know. Not any one person does know, and you don't know, but we as a collective don't know.
Don't know.
Or haven't had.
Because we're fairly young. We're fairly young species as species go, right?
Yeah, theoretically. I mean, I have no real context other than
that's true. I wasn't
looking
there
at
either.
insects or monkeys or.
I wasn't there. Oh, and Katie says we're all special.
Well, I mean,
yes, we are all.
And that's one of the resolutions to the Fermi Paradox is that Earth is an early bloomer.
Yeah.
So that we are the first civilization to have.
Oh,
space
I see,
flight.
and that they're.
And maybe we are yet to find, or something like that has happened, but it doesn't address what we've seen here on Earth, right? Like if we've had close encounters, or if there are UFOs.
Yeah,
that are.
I think that's a good point, though. I never thought of that. That we could be the newest. I never thought of that. Ooh.
Yeah, a lot of scientists like to say we're like the cavemen of the universe, but what if it's the opposite?
Yeah.
What if we did space flight first and other planets are primitive? That would be...
We always like to think we're the dumbest. Well, we don't like to think that, but that's what's portrayed, right? That the
science is humble.
Yeah, we portray, like, they always make those memes too, like the aliens drove by and said, "Ooh, don't stop in that bad neighborhood." I'm hilarious. Yeah, so that's a good point.
So what are the thoughts about interaction with humanity, Jeremiah, that you have? Do you believe in close encounters on Earth and that we've had interactions?
We haven't even asked what his beliefs on aliens are.
That's a good point.
Like, what do you think?
I'll step back.
Start from the beginning, Jeremiah.
How'd you get into this? Yeah.
So I started getting into like conspiracies and stuff after I had a near-death experience back in like 2009, I think it was. And obviously one of the first things you go to is like aliens and UFOs and stuff like that. And I just went down the rabbit hole, so to speak, and looked at and researched a whole bunch of stuff. And even before that, I've been into like the show X-Files, and Unsolved Mysteries was a big thing back in the day. And they had specials about aliens and UFOs. So I've always had an interest for it. Now my views of it have changed over time, and like what they are and what is going on has changed. So I guess we can get into that if you want to. But as of now, I personally believe that they are not so much extraterrestrial, but they're like interdimensional, and they don't actually come from other planets, but they come from some type of parallel universe or some other dimension or something. And a lot of their behavior is very matches that theory to me personally. Like the fact that their craft moves in ways that our modern craft would never be able to do. The fact that they can pull people out of their houses or rooms through the walls and stuff like that. And the missing time that people talk about and stuff like that. It just makes more sense to me after doing all the research that they're actually not from like outer space, so to speak, but more from a parallel dimension. And they found a way to rip through the fabric and like enter our world and leave our world at will, is my guess.
So I have what's probably an ignorant question because I know just enough to be that dumb. So I have to find a piece of paper. So I had an astronomer come and talk to my class, and he talked about, for example, like black holes and things like that. Oh, I can't even keep a piece of paper in my hand. He talked about black holes and things like that, and how it was just like a bend in space and time. Like this is universe, and like that's the universe on black hole. Like the universe on drugs, but that's the universe on black hole. Like, so it makes sense that it, even if it is from another place, but it's not only from another place and time, right? That makes so much sense.
Yeah, it could be that too. I don't discount any theory, but my personal belief is that they're from a parallel dimension, is my guess. Some people like to take that theory on the religious side and say like they're demons or whatever, and then there's other people that just think they're like from another galaxy in another parallel universe or something. And then there's other people that think that they're time travelers from the future that are coming back to do tests on us and stuff like that. But
okay,
I don't know what I believe as far as all that, but I just have a feeling it just explains a lot to me that their spacecraft can just blink out in a second and how fast they go. And I've heard accounts of people getting abducted from their bedrooms, and the aliens, or the Greys, as most of them are called, just carry them out of their room, like through the wall and up into the spaceship. It just makes more sense than like a physical, like worldly being, to me personally. So,
like this is so. I love when science, right, crosses what we consider quote unquote woo, which I don't like that word, but when woo crosses science, like astronomy talks all the time about bends in time, and time not being a real thing, and that we have constructed. So this time thing is super interesting, and like them being matter from a different time. Like if you're matter from a different time, your now physical being may not resemble what you resemble in real time, right?
it's possible. It's really hard to say. I just know that there's countless accounts of people saying they've got abducted, and they're like on a road and their car stops and they get abducted, and then it's 3 hours later and they come to, so to speak, and they don't know what happened the last 3 hours of their life. And it would make sense to me that if they get sucked into a different dimension or something like that, it would account for all that time that was missing. But the time on Earth might be a few seconds, but on the other parallel universe or whatever, it might be like 3 hours long. So
that makes sense. Hey, Aaron, are you thinking anything? You were having your facial things happen.
Settle down there. Well, so I'm thinking about it in the context of like and it's a little bit of a stretch of like the multi-universe theory, right? Like thinking about the possibility of alternate human development, in the way that you're talking about it being another dimension. Like if there's another dimension where humans developed technology in an alternative way, and that might be part of what we're experiencing in those situations. I'm just thinking a lot.
I see that.
Yeah, because like you have a lot of top scientists like Michio Kaku, and there's some others, I can't think of their name off the top of my head, but a lot of top scientists that are way smarter than me believe that there are, multiple universes that parallel ours. So like whatever job I do here in the other universe, I might be doing something completely different. So, and who's to say it's even humans from another universe? They could be something else. And that's another thing that I've found through my research. The typical grays, the typical aliens that people think of, they're like 3 foot tall, big eyes, like little to no mouth type of alien. I don't really think that they are completely biological. I think that they might be mechanical in nature, or kind of like androids that are sent to perform tasks. Now, whether it's from outer space or my theory of another dimension, not 100% sure, but it's just something I've really thought about and kind of buy into, is that they're not actually biological entities, that they're more of like a android drone type of thing that's sent to perform these abductions and cattle mutilations and all this other stuff that's going on. So
That's so interesting. We always think, because we're so focused on like what we already experience, and God, I was thinking of a word. For example, this is just mildly related. So I'm teaching the kids this week about personification, right? Where we put, this is an educational podcast as well. Personification, where you put human characteristics on inanimate objects and even on animals. And we do that so much as humans because we assume everything is like us, right? We're like, oh, the dog is sad because he looks like this, because when people are sad, they look like that. So that must be, when dogs are sad, they look like that. So we put so much of what we know onto other things. And it makes sense that we do that for alien life or extraterrestrial life as well, whereas it might not be the case. Yeah, I'm so much thinking. Aaron's face thinks more. My mouth thinks more.
Yeah, I think that the problem we have with our human condition is that we like to view everything through our personal lens, and it's hard for people to think outside of the box and accept things that might not fall in line with, what our view of the world and everything is. So I like to try to think outside of the box and try to think of other ways that it might be, that things might be. So, most people think aliens just come from outer space, where I'm like, well, what if they're not from outer space? What if they're from a parallel dimension or universe or something? I just think we do ourselves a disservice by just falling in line with our view of the world as humans, instead of, things might not be as they are, to our knowledge.
Well, and I mean,
I say that all the time.
It's common everywhere. It's the way, and it makes me wonder if the other beings don't have a similar construct, right? Maybe that's why they're here. Is that when you perceive things, like the only information you have is what you know. So you even put that onto other people you meet. You assume everybody kind of understands what you've been through and is in a similar place that you are, when nothing could be further from the truth. So it makes me curious, like if that's what that's about, if that's why those contacts are happening, trying to expand knowledge outside of the limited scope that they might have in their current environs.
It's possible. I'm still intrigued by the whole abduction phenomenon and all the cattle mutilations and stuff like that many researchers have documented. Like, what is their grand purpose of these abductions if they are really happening? if they seem to be, a lot of the abductions seem to be geared towards like reproduction and sexual nature, not in the sense of like they're trying to make a porn or something, but like sexuality as in your private parts and your reproduction, how it works and all that stuff. So
to make new beings.
yeah, a lot of abduction stories and people that have said they have been abducted, whether it's true or not, I'm just going by based on what they say. A lot of it has to do with them trying to create some type of hybrid alien being. And a lot of it is like humans intermingling with the aliens and creating like half breed children and stuff like that. It's just very interesting to me if it's really happening. Like, I'm not sure if it is or not, but
Yeah.
based on
Katie asks, have you met someone who you believe has been abducted? Have you ever met anyone?
not personally. I just listen to a lot of podcasts and read a lot of books. So, just from other things I've heard, I used to listen to Coast AM. It's a, like, I guess, conspiracy type radio show. And a lot of their stuff was about aliens and abductions. And so hearing the people from the call-in section of the show and the guests that they had on, just soaking in everything that was said, just really piques my interest. Because I'm like, if this is really happening, what's the end goal? Like, what is their end goal?
Yeah.
Like, are they eventually going to wipe us out and put this new hybrid race in, or are they just curious? Like, it kind of makes you wonder if it's really happening, what their purpose or goal is.
Well, as an
Yeah.
absolute cynic, I'll bring in my absolute cynical point here, is that and this may be limited, but survival is an economic game essentially, and we explore in order to better sustain ourselves, and historically speaking has led to war and all kinds of awful things. But if you were to find a new species that you wanted to eradicate, determining its reproductive habits would probably be a good starting point.
True. Yeah, true.
That makes sense.
If they needed if they came here initially because they needed resources that they don't have available to them.
Now
Yeah.
there's theories. There's theories that they are here because they can no longer reproduce. Something happened in their evolutionary journey or whatever. So now they're trying to find ways to reproduce, to replenish their own population. Then there's other theories where they're planning to populate the earth with these hybrid beings and wipe out the, like, quote unquote normal humans. That's another theory. There's a ton of theories with aliens out there because obviously we don't know the true answer.
Yeah. Do you think aliens are already on Earth?
Yes, I do. If they are real, I never want to say for 100% certainty that things are real.
Because you haven't met one.
Yeah, I haven't met one. Until I meet one.
Well, you don't know if you've met one.
True, I might have. I might have met a hybrid one. I have met some weird people in my life. But-
Touche.
Well, there's stories of underground bases that house aliens, like in Dulce, New Mexico, and supposedly our government is working with aliens down in that base and stuff like that. So I don't know, but I know that during wartime, it seems that there's a ton of UFO activity during wartime, like when when we dropped the bomb in Hiroshima and during the Nazi regime and different points of history with war, there seems to be a heightened UFO activity. And some people think that they're trying to manipulate the outcomes of wars and or stop something worse from happening. So there's a lot of UFO activity around like nuclear reactors and other military installations. And is it actual like aliens, UFOs, or are they secret military vehicles or something? I don't know, but it's definitely been written about and documented about that there is heightened UFO activity during times of war and different things that might shape our future differently. So some people theorize the aliens are trying to contain us from annihilating ourselves. And but
I think if you look statistically at human thought, though, like we always go to the negative. We always think apocalyptic times, like we're all going to shoot each other. I always say this, there's no stories of, oh, crap, there's another species against us. Let's all bond together and like save each other. Like there's no stories of that. We always go to the negative. So it doesn't mean it's the case.
Well, and speaking to their motives, is there like in the community, is there a significant amount of people who believe that there are altruistic motives, like you said, like preventing escalation to the point of eradicating human life? Do they believe that there are altruistic motives?
For sure. There's people on both sides of the spectrum. There's people that think that this space aliens or whatever are going to end up saving humanity by bringing us, enlightenment and whatever technologies they have. But then there's the other side that thinks that they're going to wipe us all out eventually and use the Earth for other gains, or that there's another one that we're basically in an ant farm on Earth, and they're pretty much just using us as a sim game type of thing, and they're just doing enough to keep us in line, but not enough to stop us from doing stupid stuff. So I
think about that all the time. Like, what if we are just the bacteria of a giant's gut, right? Because our bacteria has its own biome in its gut. It's like chugging along, doing life, right? What if we're just gut biome of a giant?
It's potentially supportive of religious narratives too.
The gut biome of a giant?
For it to be other potentially altruistic beings who are performing tests. If that's how we were created, if we were created in that instance, it would be a check-in, right? We'd be doing preventative maintenance, for the lack of a human way to put it.
That's an interesting thought. It also goes with what Monique said about animals having the same thoughts when they're captured, like from a marine environment that has never been discovered before, and we capture the animal and we do tests on the animal. Like, do these animals have thoughts like this? But we kind of know more about their neurological capabilities. From what we know, they don't have the neurological capabilities, but heck, what do we know? That's another show. Heck, what do we know?
Well, if you go to the religious side and throw religion in it, then there's a group of people who think that the aliens are actually like fallen angels or demons of some sort, and that they have quote unquote rule over the earth until God comes back, and then there's that final battle of Armageddon, and things get settled. So there is a religious aspect to it as well, that these gray aliens are actually like some type of demons or fallen angels, and they're performing these tests on humans because they cannot reproduce or anything like that because they're cast out of heaven or whatever, and they're using us to try to make beings, since they can't create life like God, that they're trying to use us to create life, but it seems to fail because a lot of stories I've heard through like just random people talking about their abductions, they've been shown like hybrid babies that are like sick or dying or are already dead, and so it's just another theory. Like no one knows for sure, but
Interesting. You would think if it wasn't real, though, right? Like that people would have different experiences, right? Like very different experiences because there's so many similarities, unless those people are like alien type people who do a lot of research before their abduction. But if we have a lot of similarities of people who have not done this research, have not been exposed to this information, although it's difficult to determine that, especially on a wide scale, then there's got to be something to it. Even if it's not the something we think, there's probably something to it. Jacob is very insistent upon knowing where you research your theories. I think it's the second time he asked. Where do you research?
All my research is basically from like books on the topic and a lot of podcasts. I listen to podcasts like all the time. So a lot of it's from like Coast to Coast AM or various, fringe podcasts and stuff like that. Because that's basically where you find this stuff. It's not something you find on mainstream media because they don't want to acknowledge any of this. So, yeah, most of it's from like that and just articles online and hearing people's testimonials on like call-in shows and a bunch of books that I have on the topic. And like I said, I'm not 100% sure of anything, but me personally, about 90% sure that they are not from outer space, that they're from a parallel dimension or universe. That's just my personal belief from years of looking into this.
So interesting. Go ahead.
So would there be, in your opinion, do you think there would be a fundamental difference in interpreting their behavior if they are from a parallel dimension as opposed to an interstellar being?
Probably, because right now you're thinking about, or not you personally, but as a collective, right now you're thinking about what planet are they from? Where are they coming from? Can I beam a message out into space and get a message in return? I think SETI has been doing that for quite some time, just blasting radio signals out into space and hoping to get a response. But what if that's a waste of time and money and resource? What if it's better to find a way to rip the fabric of space-time and go to the alternate dimension or universe or whatever? And I believe they're trying to do something in CERN to open some type of portal or something, but it's a completely different topic and show. But yeah, I just think if you waste all your time and energy and effort into looking into outer space, you might miss something that could be in a completely different direction.
That sounds so. I felt that statement. Like that. That is like humanness at its core. You're looking somewhere else, so you miss something.
Like, it's totally my personal belief and my feeling, but with Elon Musk and Jeff Bezos or whatever spending millions or billions of dollars on flights out to Mars or whatever, why don't they use that money on things that we need here on Earth? Like, why blow all that money on that getting to Mars or whatever. We have so
Because they're
many issues.
nincompoops.
We have so many issues here that we can deal with and resolve with that type of money. But that's just my little soapbox that I'm like, you're
You know
wasting
what?
billions
And
of
you know
dollars.
what? The astronomer says that the astronomer who came and spoke to my class, he was very up in arms about how much we spend on the Super Bowl, which he's like, it's like $2 billion or something. And they hardly get any funding for NASA to like do this space research or whatever. Just as a side note on how astronomers feel about
Uh-oh. I think the aliens got you.
Yeah. They're in your
What
Wi-Fi.
did I freeze? Darn aliens.
Well, I mean, it's worth stating, not to defend the Super Bowl, but we've all met humans. If we weren't all entertained, we'd probably be rioting. Like, those are the two options.
For sure.
So I think it might be money well spent.
If we don't have entertainment, then it would be chaos probably. Yeah. It's the same thing with the Romans. Now? The Romans threw the gladiator games to keep the population quelled or whatever.
Yes. So why would the government hide? Let's say the government knows about this, that there's aliens, whether they come from a different planet or a different time. Why would the government hide it? What's the purpose behind hiding it?
From what I've noticed is that there's different thoughts on it. It could be they don't want to create mass panic. It could be they don't want us to know that they have access to other life forms.
Knowledge is power.
Because, I mean, if you really honestly think about it, if they came out tomorrow and said, hey, we've got aliens here, and brought one out on stage, like, me personally would think that there would be like a huge chaos and collapse, because like your religions of the world would crumble because people would be like, well, what the heck? And, because it's not supposed to be. And I just think it would create so much problems if we actually like knew 100% if there was aliens for real.
So I literally just discovered this about myself. That's how not religious I am, is that I didn't even think of religion. And Monique and you said that at the same time in the chat. They're talking about people's religions and core beliefs would be wrong. Didn't even cross my mind. That's how you know if you're religious or not.
And like you, and I'm saying you as a collective, like people who aren't religious, they don't really feel like that would be an issue, but like you have some devout religious people that their world would be shattered if aliens trotted out on stage and was like, hey, I'm here. You know what I mean? Because there's literally people that think that we're the only life in the universe and the earth is flat and there was no dinosaurs.
Because God said so.
So yeah, I 100% think that there would be complete destruction in some way if they came out and said 100% irrefutable.
Well,
that's everything.
I don't like being in a position to make this defense, but religious thought and religious belief is
defending religion
is
right
very
now?
dynamic, right? So just like before when we were talking about like the end of geocentrism, right? Geocentrism is a huge thing when it comes to Earth being special and God's relationship with humans and all that. And we have irrefutable proof that nothing short the moon revolves around the Earth, right? They survived it. There would be sects that would probably rise up against it. There would be a lot of talk, and definitely now on the internet. But I don't think it would fundamentally change anything. I think a lot of people would adapt relatively easily. But
like they put it in, there'd be like, oh, this is the part we didn't know, right?
I mean, it
Yeah,
would be.
I mean, it's just my speculation. I
Yeah.
could be
No,
completely
you're right.
wrong.
That is probably why, because it's not, you weren't the only one that said it. That I always think when multiple people say the same thing, like that's a thing. Like people's, like you said, world would be rocked. Somebody asked a question earlier that I don't know what he's talking about, but also sometimes he trolls, so I gotta be careful. But Steven asked, have you listened to any podcasts on January 6th? Did something happen on January 6th that you know of?
Wasn't that the storming of the Capitol building or whatever?
Oh, was it? How do you know that?
I know a lot.
That's Steven trolling.
Oh, so he's trying to say, oh, gotcha. So he's trying to say that maybe the aliens stormed the building. Is that what he's trying to say?
I have no idea what he's
Well, I
trying
mean,
to say.
it was. I mean, it's easy for it to say that there were a few individuals that were the impetus for that whole situation. Humans are very easy to manipulate.
Oh yeah.
That
by
is
groups
true.
like that.
That is a true fact. You're right.
Now you have people who believe that all our elites of the world are really lizard people. Um, a very prominent figure, David Icke, buys into that our elites are lizard people. So I mean, maybe they are. We don't know. So I mean, I don't
True.
personally believe it, but I can't say
No, I
100%.
think people suck enough on their own. We don't need to add lizard people to suck.
I certainly
Yeah.
wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah, but also people suck. But Monique makes a very good point about the toilet paper. She said we saw what happened when people freaked out over just toilet paper. Imagine we had aliens to the mix. Nah, you're right. Monique, touche. I agree, Monique.
Yeah, now we're having issues with it again. Like we didn't learn the first time.
Right? Now they're stuck out on boats. Katie asked a good question. So based on what you've heard of all these alien abductions, and if you were abducted or you knew you were about to be abducted, how would you feel based on everything you've heard? Excited, scared, intrigued? Like, what would your feelings be?
So I would, it'd probably be scary as hell at first. I mean, a lot of the abductions are done like obviously against your will. A lot of them are done while you're sleeping, or a lot of people get abducted from their cars. This is the speculation, but
Yeah.
so I'd probably be really scared at first, and then I'd probably be intrigued once the fear like kind of dissipated. Because a lot of the times, a lot of people end up saying that their experience ended positively, even though it started off like really bad, like being abducted from their room or having tests done to them. But there are people who said like every time, and it seems like a lot of people get abducted multiple times. It's not just one time. So like this one, there's a lot of people that are like, yeah, I've been getting abducted like 4 or 5 times already. So I don't know if they have like, um, I don't know, for lack of a better term, doctor schedule, where they're like, oh, time to get your checkup or whatever. But it seems like there's certain people that they select, which I have no idea how they go about selecting people, but seems like once they abduct you, they'll continue abducting you.
Has there been any statistical analysis on that? On like if there's any commonalities of the people that they tend to abduct?
I'm sure there has been. There's a group called MUFON. It's like the UFO researchers group, and I'm sure they have studies done for statistics. I've also heard a lot about families being abducted. So, like, grandma got abducted, mom got abducted, I got abducted. Seems to be a common thing, too, in the abduction world. So I don't know if there's something to that, like family bloodlines or whatever, but it seems to be a common.
Or maybe they are aliens, and that's who they're studying, the bloodline passing on.
I can't tell you that. But there definitely seems to be methods that they go about doing this. A lot of the abductions seem very similar. There might be slight differences, but a lot of times seem to be quite similar as far as how they go about abducting you, what they do once you're aboard the ship, so to speak. And um, a lot of people talk about getting impregnated or impregnating a alien type female and then being abducted again a few years later and being shown their alien hybrid baby and stuff like that. There seems to be a lot of people that talk about that type of experience. So it's just very interesting. Whether I buy into them or not, I don't like to close off anybody. Some of them sound really wacky, far out there. Some of them seem very believable. So it's hard to tell who's fabricating and who's being legit.
Well, legit, if this happened to you, it's gonna sound wacky, right? Like, I would feel crazy. I don't know if I would even. Well, I would tell everyone. Let's be real. But like,
well, there's a lot of people that say they haven't come out in years because they're afraid of the perception of them. And they're like, I got abducted 15 years ago, but this is the first time I'm talking about it because I was afraid I'd be called a wacko or whatever.
Look at movies like there's a movie. I watch too much television, clearly, but there's like movies of even people who have like even psychic abilities, right? And they never told anyone because they'll be perceived as crazy, or like I don't know, Matrix type movies where they can feel something or see something, but you can't tell because if it's against human nature or human construct, then we think it's insane, right? And if it doesn't have a place in our little box, it doesn't belong.
Yep, exactly. Like, if I got abducted tonight and told people tomorrow, they'd be like, "Get the hell out of here! You're dumb."
Right? They think you're dumb.
Even if it really did happen, they wouldn't believe me. No one would believe me.
Yeah. So do you think? Oh, sorry. Aaron,
go ahead.
Okay. Do you think you live your actual life any differently based on what you know and the theories that you have of today?
Not for aliens and UFOs, no. I don't. A lot of people want to be abducted. I do not. I hope that I never get abducted. I don't know enough about what their agenda is to want to experience that. Because if it's for something nefarious, I don't want to be a part of it. So without knowing what their agenda is, I hope they never abduct me. But now watch, they'll abduct me tonight. So.
No! You have to tell us.
Yes. You have to come back on next week if that happens.
For real.
Yeah.
And it's funny that you said that because Jacob asked if you've ever tried being abducted. Isn't there a highway? Do you know, like, in that community, if there's like a regional bias to that? If people actually congregate in areas with an intent to be abducted?
I believe there's like hot spots, but I don't think you can actually like summon an abduction. I think they're just kind of random, or maybe not so random, but it's not something you can like will to happen.
But like you said, there's families, right? Family lines that it tends to happen, and so that kind of constructs a location.
Yeah, there's definitely like UFO hotspots. Like in North Carolina here, there's a mountain ridge not far away, and they always claim that there's like UFO lights out there at certain times of the night and certain times of the year. So I haven't had a chance to go out there to look yet, but it's on my list of things to do.
Totally.
See if I can see some lights.
Okay, so I have a question. So when I asked that question, I said, does this change the way you live life? You said, not to UFOs. So were you thinking of something that does change the way you live your day-to-day life? Is it something supernatural?
Yeah, my near-death experience in 2009, I think it
I
was,
forgot about that. I was going to come back to that. Go ahead.
has completely changed how I live my life now. I've changed completely as a person. I used to get severely depressed. I don't get severely depressed anymore. I'll still have my moments, but nothing like before. Just my outlook on life is different now after experiencing what I experienced.
This is not a near-death experience show, although coming at you at a podcast soon. Can you sum up what you experienced?
It's nothing like wild and crazy. It was just the typical dark tunnel with the light at the end of it, and I was floating towards it. And as I was about halfway up, I just got this feeling of like love and warmth and like something I'll never experience on Earth. Like I can't even describe the feeling of love and warmth and just feeling at peace and not thinking about the world or nothing, and no ego, just love and warmth and bright white light that I could stare into. It didn't hurt my eyes or anything, but and as I got closer, I saw silhouettes of what I would say humans, and they were saying like, "Come, you're okay, it's fine. Come to the light," or whatever, and just very reassuring, very loving. And I just remember yelling out like, "No, I can't leave. I have stuff left to finish on Earth." And I just kept yelling at the light like, "I'm not done yet. I have stuff to do." And after a couple times of yelling that at the top of my lungs, like I got shot out of a cannon back into my body, and I woke up gasping for air, and it felt like someone was like crushing my heart. So I had my brother, who was living with me at the time, rush me to the hospital, and they put me on all these machines, did all these tests, ended up saying I was 100% healthy, nothing's wrong with me. And then for like 3 days afterwards, my heart just hurt like someone was lightly squeezing it in their palm. And but they said I was 100% healthy, no heart attack, no nothing. And I have no other way to describe like the feeling I felt in the halfway up the tunnel, and then like waking up with the heartache and all that stuff. It was just a crazy experience. So that was pretty much the experience. And I didn't know the people at the light at the end of the tunnel. They were just like very loving, very reassuring, like, "It's okay, you can come on, it's fine," like just normal people. So I don't know. It was weird. I think you froze.
Yep, I think we. Oh, there we go. She's back.
Lordy, lordy. Every time we have an episode, I feel like there's a whole other episode inside of the episode, right? Like, remember when the Satanist was Mormon or something? Or no? Like, somebody had a Mormon. Oh, no! It was the biracial, growing up biracial, and then her family was Mormon. That's what it was.
In Florida,
Wow. Yeah, this is crazy. In Florida. Do you feel like the in Florida part is important?
Now the crazy part and the sad part is like I don't know what I have left to finish down here. Like I just got this feeling that I have something more to accomplish. Maybe it's this podcast, I don't know. But it was just a feeling of my mission's not done yet. And I don't know, ever since I've just been a different person. So I don't know.
Well,
Yeah,
I think she froze again. Well, I mean, that's one of the reasons that we do this is to help, and I mean, people we know and other people who don't have experience and don't have interactions with people like who have had those experiences to open up their mind and to think about things a little bit differently. So it could be.
Yeah. I'm going to
Yeah,
start.
I feel. Oh, sorry.
No, go ahead. I thought I was still frozen. Go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say I don't like the current state of our country and stuff in the fact that everything's so black and white. There's no gray area anymore. It's just you're either this or you're that. And if you're that, I don't like you because you're this, and vice versa. And I just wish more people would open up to other possibilities. And even if you don't 100% agree, at least you can have a mutual respect for your standing.
Yeah.
That's just me personally.
Yes.
You
yes.
can
and that's
disagree
what
with
we're all
somebody and it
about.
doesn't make either of you a bad person.
And like we've established, everything is human construct. Like we created these things and these beliefs and these things. There's so much more out there that we don't even know. How can you say you have to be this or that? How egotistical, or like, what do you guys say? Human centric, or like you guys say science words. But anyway, like that you have to fit into these things. Like it doesn't make any sense. Also, I'm starting a GoFundMe, support April's internet connection.
And also her library so she can learn sciencey words.
That too. Oh my gosh, we're at our end of our time, and I feel like we always end on such a high note. Like, I'm just like, that just hits everything. Katie said this is awesome. Stephen totally thinks your mission on life is this podcast, so we're apparently have to keep having you on because we don't want your life to end. Because
well, I am starting my own podcast to do conspiracy stuff. I have a composer doing my intro music now, so I'm just waiting to get that back. And then I got to get my artwork. But I plan to have it up within the next month. And,
yes!
The podcast will be called What If They're Wrong? With a question mark.
Oh my god, I love that. And we will share it 100%. That will be shared. So just tell me, and we'll share it all over our podcast stuff. Like, yes.
Yeah, and we'll make sure it ends up in the description of the videos and stuff. So just please let us know.
And I also have a Facebook group that I just started. It's called What If They're Wrong? With a question mark. And I just started that to post like conspiracy stuff on there. So if you want to join my Facebook group, go for it.
Yeah, I have to write that one down. What if they're wrong?
Yeah, like they are wrong. What if they're wrong?
There's an apostrophe in there.
Shut up. I know. I knew you were going to say that.
But yeah, I do plan to start my podcast and speak on various conspiracy related stuff.
That's awesome.
So I've dived into a lot of conspiracies over these years, so I'm not an expert on any, but I know a lot about a lot.
Yeah. And we're going to have more supernatural peeps on, because the group that I met Jeremiah in, there were some other people that were interested in sharing about things like ghosts and stuff. So stay tuned for that. I'm hoping next week, but y'all know my life is rough. I was just in Hawaii for 13 days. Rough. And so, yeah, I know. But I'm on it now. Like, I'm on it. So I'm hoping to get them for next week.
New job, new life, right?
Oh yeah, I got a new job too. I think I told you guys that last week.
So there's more time. So to find out what it is, make sure to pay attention to our Facebook, like, share, and subscribe. Do all the things below. Get more people involved in the conversations, especially people who don't have exposure to all these kinds of topics. Hopefully bring some enlightenment. So we'll work on next week. We'll bring you something, and we'll let you know what it is. Until then, have meaningful conversations.